Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. And it is Wednesday. We took a week off last week. There's already a lot of W's, but it's going to continue because we got Wayne W. Dyer and Wisdom of the Ages, ladies and gentlemen. 60 Days to Enlightenment. We've been reading from and adding our own commentary for purposes of education, kind of expanding these ideas and philosophies and ways that we can take our life and the way that we experience our life to a much higher quality and a much higher level. So that way we can have a great quality of life and enjoy it. And so today, the chapter we'll be looking at is Wayne Dyer's ideas around a poem that was written by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he titles this chapter Judgment. And I think judgment is a really important subject from many different facets and aspects. And so Ralph Waldo Emerson, if you're not familiar with him, he was an American poet, essayist, and philosopher. Emerson was a steady optimist who believed that nature is a manifestation of spirit. And I too believe that. No, I don't believe in belief. I know that nature is a manifestation of that great divine energy, whatever it is that is beating our hearts and breathing. It's amazing to even think about. One of the things that really blows your mind when you try to think about what is it that's doing all the processes of the body without me even having to think about it. And is that such a... Anyways, let me continue, ladies and gentlemen. This poet, Ralph Waldo Emerson, was a great one. Wayne Dyer begins by saying, "My regard for Ralph Waldo Emerson is so high that he is the only person I have chosen to contribute twice to this collection, once through his poetry and a second time in one of his groundbreaking essays." Emerson was the founder of the Transcendentalist tradition in America. His philosophy emphasized all-pervading spirit of the universe, wherein God existed everywhere. In Fable, Emerson creates a poetic quarrel between a squirrel and a mountain that presents this view. And so we'll go into Fable right now, ladies and gentlemen. Fable. The mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel, and the former called the latter Little Prig. Bun replied, "You are doubtless very big, but all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together to make up a year and a sphere." Interesting. And I think it's no disgrace to occupy my place. If I am not so large as you, you are not so small as I, and not half so spry. I'll not deny you make a very pretty squirrel track. Talons differ, all is well and wisely put, if I cannot carry forests on my back. Neither can you crack a nut. Ralph Waldo Emerson. That's one of the funnier poems, I think, in this one. Well, it also maintains a level of deep metaphysical ideas. The things that stand out to me is the difference in size and the difference in ability. And you're doubtless very big, but all sorts of things and weather must be taken in together to make up a year and a sphere. That's a deep one. That makes me think of the, really simply put, the Farmer's Almanac, and how this understanding of the symbols that, all 12 of them come together in a certain flow, must be taken in together to make up a year and the sphere. Now, let's not get tracked up there on shapes. I think it's no disgrace to occupy my place. And then the difference in size, not so large as you. And then the opposite point of view, it's like you're not so small as I and not so spry. But the talents differ. The mountain's like, but I can carry forests on my back. Interesting one. So let's see what Wayne Dyer here has to teach us about judgment that is presented in this poem, in this quarrel between a squirrel and a mountain. To understand the greatness of Ralph Waldo Emerson, it is important to remember that during his period of history, spiritual guidance was the exclusive domain of the established religions. And, whenever I bring up spirituality, I think I almost feel I need to clarify that I'm not talking about religious points of view. It's more an amalgamation of all the spiritual, mystical, metaphysical ideas and traditions that come from a comparative study of all religious traditions and ideas. And so, that there's a big difference between being spiritual and religious, is a simple way to put it, ladies and gentlemen. And so Emerson was challenging the dogma and the rhetoric of traditional religion, seeing divinity everywhere. Emerson spoke to a new consciousness in which God is not greater or lesser based on the appearance of the material form. The squirrel, a furry little rodent, possesses the invisible God force, as does the mountain that can carry a forest on its back, yet cannot crack a nut. In this poem, Emerson is saying that each of us, regardless of our shape or size or mobility, is a divine creation with unique opportunities to fulfill our destiny. And that is one of the most important points for us to not just consider and think, oh, that sounds nice. This is one of the most important points for us to establish as a foundation from where we live our life from, that we are valuable. Each and every one of us, no matter where we're at in our life, is on our own journey. And this will stop the judgment of others as well as yourself, is when you see that everybody is exactly where they are on their journey. And it doesn't matter how small and how much of a squirrel they are, or how big and how much of a mountain they've become, in positive or negative ways, however you want to look at it. Each of us and everything is a divine creation, and we are worthwhile and valuable. In that, Emerson is saying to each of us here, and Wayne Dyer is, and I am saying to you, if you're listening to this, and it will continue to pass down through the wisdom of the ages to those that have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the mind to try and understand. And we are saying to all of us that regardless of our shape, size, mobility, you are a divine creation with unique opportunities to fulfill your destiny, my destiny, whatever it is. Each of us have our own path that we're on, independent of how others may do so. This includes all life forms in all shapes, in all ways. And I went over that with seriousness because it's extremely important for you to be able to proceed in your life knowing it gives you a certain level of peace, comfortability, and tranquility. There was a great Twilight Zone episode I was watching last night. And it was this guy he was like a little salesman. He would walk around the town and go to different places with like a little briefcase full of knickknacks, matches and little things that people would buy back in the day on the street. And so anyways, he would give people exactly what they needed. And one guy, he tried to take advantage of this, And so the little man gave him scissors, and he's like, what am I going to do with scissors? And his scarf ended up getting caught in the elevator, and the scissors saved his life. It was exactly what he needed. So he went back to the guy. Long story short, after a couple times, the guy says, I'm sorry, I can't give you what you need, because what you need is peace of mind and tranquility. And, in order, what he was getting at there is what you need is an ability to come at life from a new perspective so that you can enjoy it no matter what's going on. And if you have a peace of mind, if you have a sense of tranquility by knowing that we possess this invisible God force and that we are divine creations with unique opportunities to fulfill our destiny, that we can get that tranquility and peace and bring it to life and make it the process that we do, rather than make it the thing that we're seeking after to gain by what it is that we're doing. I hope that made sense and had an impact, ladies and gentlemen. If you're getting value, smash the like button, consider subscribing, and we'll continue on here. I recall a similar story told by a great teacher of mine, Nisargadatta Maharaj, one of the Maharaj, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who lived in India and was highly regarded as a mystical spiritual saint by many. And I personally would like to add, if you go on YouTube and start looking up some of these people from India that have had, not just India, but these mystical people that have different perspectives than what we're used to and what we have been exposed to in most of our lives, young lives, and whether, at least my young life in the West here, growing up in the United States, it's like some of the teachings and mystical spiritual ideas, metaphysical things that can come from people like Nisargadatta Maharaj is something worth devoting some time to and study, because it will, once again, do exactly what we're trying to do, which is activate a higher quality of life. A devotee wondered how Nisargadatta could say, Wayne Dyer continues, in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. And the title of the last video I did was having the ability to take whatever life throws at you. And so Nisargadatta answered with this story of a monkey having a conversation with a tree. You mean to tell me, the monkey said to the tree, that you actually stay in one place for an entire lifetime and don't move from that spot? I don't understand. You mean to tell me, the tree said to the monkey, that you actually go from place to place using your energy to move about all day? I don't understand. Nisargadatta's story was meant to help his devotee recognize that her identification with her body got in the way of her understanding his spiritual perspective, engaging in judgment about the other created a scenario that was like the monkey trying to understand the tree, or vice versa. As in the Emerson poem, the higher reality is that both life forms can contain the same universal organizing intelligence, yet can not begin to understand each other because they are so different. This fable of Emerson's and this story of Nisargadatta's are particularly relevant to my life, Wayne Dyer says. I recently wrote a book along with my wife, Marceline, called A Promise is a Promise. It is the true story of a mother who has cared for her comatose daughter, and this is a very deep and compelling story. I've heard him speak about it many times. There's a couple times he goes on about this story for about 30 minutes, talking about the principle of unconditional love, and this as an example of true unconditional love, because hope and love are the two most important things, ladies and gentlemen. Now, a promise is a promise. The story of a mother who cared for her comatose daughter for over 28 years, feeding her every 2 hours around the clock, turning her, giving her insulin every 4 hours, and raising the money to pay all the expenses, the hospital bills, and sleeping in a chair every night next to her daughter. 28 years ago, Eduarda, then 16 years old, pleaded, "You won't leave me, will you, Mommy?" As she slipped into a diabetic coma. Kay, her mother, Kay O'Bara, responded, "I will never leave you, darling, I promise. And a promise is a promise." In the ensuing 28 years, Eduardo O'Bara has moved from stage 1 coma, wherein she was catatonic and had to have her eyes taped shut, to stage 9, where she appears to recognize voices, smiles, and cries when she is saddened. She voluntarily closes her eyes and sometimes appears to react to stimuli in the room. But the most amazing part of this story concerns the effect that Eduarda has on those who have visited her. Some claim to have experienced miraculous healings, and everyone feels the unconditional love Eduarda radiates from her immobile body. I myself, along with my wife, Wayne Dyer says, have felt a deep sense of compassion and love because of our association with Kay and Eduarda. And I feel blessed to have had the opportunity to use my gifts for writing and speaking to tell this incredible story of love and compassion, and to contribute the proceeds towards reducing their massive debts. He says, I've been able to disempower my ego's self-importance and serve at a more giving spiritual level because of Kay and Eduarda. Even though Eduarda does not move about, remains essentially immobile, and has been labeled handicapped by the rest of the world, even though she never speaks and needs continuous care, I know that she is doing her work. And who knows, maybe she is reaching more people through me and my writing and speaking than she ever could were she awake. Maybe she is able to help create miracles in others because she has left her body and its limitations. Who is to say? And I think it's important to add right there, before I continue with what Wayne Dyer was saying, is when he says maybe she's able to create miracles in others because she has left her body, doesn't mean she's dead. Doesn't mean she's gone. We can leave our body's limitations and still live. We can, as one great teacher once put it, we can die while we are still alive to escape from our cage. I think that was the story about the hunter who found the parrot, who brought it back from the group. They were all talking parrots. He brought it back from the grove where he was in Africa and England. And then the parrot, anyways, the parrot, he went back and, told the other parrots, said, hey, he's doing well in his cage and he is happy. And one of the parrots, when he went back to the grove in Africa, said, give him a message. And it was something to that effect. It was like, you must die while you are still alive in order to escape from your cage. Oh yeah, the parrot in the grove, when he told him the good news, when he was in Africa in the grove again, telling him, hey, your friend is happy and he's safe, back living with me. One of them just dropped over dead and he couldn't understand it. And so when he got back, he told this to the parrot that he had taken home, and the parrot did the same thing. It dropped over dead immediately. And he was like, I just don't understand this. And so he took it out on a little pile and he was going to burn the remains. He was kind of distraught and upset. And then the parrot flew up and alighted in the tree there, and it looked down at it. He said, I can't believe, what is this? I can't believe you've tricked me like this. And the parrot says back to him, my friend was sending me a message. And it was just that you must die while you are still alive, in order to escape from your cage. We must be in the world, but not totally of it. Now, I got off track there, but I love that story and all these stories. These are great stories. And this is why we do this, ladies and gentlemen, because we're seeking the wisdom of the ages and we're trying to incorporate it into our life and have a higher quality, a greater life. Now, even though, here we go, yet it is this much I know. Eduardo Obar's life, is as valuable as anyone else's on the planet, despite her being in a coma. It reminds me of the monkey in the tree. It's like the monkey's like, how do you stand in one place forever? And the tree's like, why would you use all your energy to go all about from one place to another? It just doesn't make sense. And so life is not necessarily about moving around and about, moving anyone else's point of view on this planet, which is odd that, see, it's a paradox. It's a paradox. But, life is not necessarily about moving around and talking. The life force that exists within her comatose body is the same life force that is in everybody and in every mountain, every squirrel, every nut that the squirrel cracks, every tree, every monkey. And Eduarda's life has a mission, and she accomplishes it each day in her destined way. And each of us do the same, I would add. Despite how we feel, what kind of experiences that we're going through in life, whether we're struggling or having a just high-o time, I believe that we are accomplishing it every day in our own destined way with some element of free will. And so she teaches us, Wayne Dyer continues, to be compassionate and teaches us about unconditional love. She has provided me with an opportunity to see firsthand that all life has infinite value. It goes back to the most important, crucial point. I don't pretend to understand why this young girl has lived in this state, unattached to life support for over a quarter of a century, 28 years. There are some things I'll never understand, and I like it that way. Me too. I love that sentiment. What I have learned through my association with the Oberas and writing A Promise is a Promise is that I'm like the monkey talking to the tree or the squirrel conversing with the mountain. They both move about and chatter to the silent and stationary, whose immobility and mute silence are a different form of the same life force. Emerson's fable offers us a poetic insight into this life force that is everywhere. Being able to acknowledge that life force without judging oneself superior in any way because of differing physical traits is a great lesson to learn. And I would say it goes beyond physical traits, differing life experiences, differing thoughts, whatever it is that you deal with, to acknowledge the great force that flows through all of us and all things that we are a part of and that is a part of us, and to not judge ourselves as being superior or inferior in any way because of differing physical, mental, or psychological, emotional, any kind of experiences is a great lesson to learn on the road to our spiritual growth. To put this important lesson to work in our life, Wayne Dyer gives us 4 recommendations here. And this is why you should check the description below and expand it and go to the Amazon link that I have this book linked in so you can get it for yourself. It also gives me a few pennies, like 1% of the purchase price. So I get a little bit and Amazon gets a little less, and you get a fantastic reference copy that you can come back to the end of each of these chapters and do these recommendations that Wayne Dyer gives us, because these are practical ways that we can put these higher, more metaphysical, out there ideas into action in our life, ladies and gentlemen. So please be sure to do that, and then everyone wins. Now, recommendation number 1. Refuse to make judgments about the importance or value of others based on what you have come to assess as normal. See the unfolding of God in everyone and all life. Know that no one is superior in the invisible realm of the spirit, and that our outer shells all come in a variety of shapes, sizes, and conditions. Number 2, see the genius in everyone you encounter. And this is interesting sometimes. I'm going to add here, when you work around a lot of people, sometimes you find that people are, they've yet to go beyond judgment and seeing the God in everyone. This force, this life force that is doing everything but leaving. It's almost like it does nothing, but it leaves nothing undone. You might have heard that before if you've listened to this channel. Now, so, even if there's people that that you see that other people are judging as lesser, you begin to see the genius in everyone you encounter, and it will begin to do the opposite of the judgment. Just as the mountain cannot crack a nut, though it can carry a forest on its back, so too does every living creature have its own perfection built into it. Make every effort to look for that perfection rather than being misled by appearances of the host container. Recommendation number 3. Begin to practice the simple wisdom. There are many things I do not understand, and I like it that way. That's my favorite one. And recommendation number 4, ladies and gentlemen, let go of judgments that compare others to what has come to be labeled as normal. Just because most people can see, that doesn't render the blind people as lesser or insignificant. And just because most folks walk about and talk, that does not imply that those who lie in silence are less precious in any way. Wow, that one hits you deep, ladies and gentlemen. You can almost get tears thinking about some of those powerful ideas and principles that I think we all need to begin to apply in our life. And the simple thing I was thinking about there at the end is just love everybody. Like, if somebody's like doing something differently than the way that you think they should do it, and you think they're an idiot, or you think they're just whatever, you begin judging them. It's like, they're on their path. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're all idiots at some point. It's funny. And it's, we don't know everything, and we should like it that way. I don't understand. There are many things that I just don't know, and I like it that way. And we're all on our own path, and everybody's learning and growing as well as they can. And so I think that's a great way to see other people and, life itself, your own life. It's like, I'm just learning and growing. I'm not a master. I don't think any of us are. And even the masters that we're learning from in the wisdom of the ages, I believe even Buddha and Jesus and, all Lao Tzu, all these great teachers, Nisargadatta Maharaj, probably maybe a little lower level than Jesus and Buddha and Lao Tzu, but but you know what I mean? Like, I think even they're still learning and growing at their high level of avatar attainment or spiritual mastery, whatever it is you want to call ascension out of the physical realm. But ladies and gentlemen, those principles of non-judgment and unconditional love and loving everybody and knowing that you are valuable and that the divine organizing intelligence flows through not only you, everything else and everyone else, and that we are it. And that we should use this wisdom of the ages to stop judging ourselves and begin having a higher experience, a higher quality of life. If you got value, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe. I've actually been doing these videos, except for last week, every week since January. And I've gained like 1 subscriber. But I don't mind. It's because I'm enjoying this and I'm doing it for a purpose so that there can be a catalog and, you know, we can expand upon the ideas of the wisdom of the ages, regardless whether we get 5 views or 10 views or whatever it is. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is important. We need to continue. I almost got through it without a stumble, but we need to continue to seek to achieve happiness through enlightenment and seek to discover the hidden wisdom of the ages, ladies and gentlemen, because there is just that. There is a wisdom, there is an understanding of life that I think is so often kept behind the curtain or swept underneath the rug, or whatever kind of analogy you want to use. It's just not put in our face, and we're not taught about it all the time. And, you know, we need to be able to discover this enlightenment, this new awareness, this understanding of reality in our lives, and the way that we can think, the way that we can change our thoughts and change our lives in order so that we can make happiness, peace of mind, tranquility, the way that we operate in life, and not the goal that we are seeking after to get. So begin to make happiness the way, ladies and gentlemen, and then the goal will become irrelevant. All right. Love you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, consider subscribing. Smash the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, expand the description so you can purchase one of my landscape paintings, CLC Paint. And we'll be back in the future with more Tuesday Tao, wisdom of the ages, and wonderful enlightening topics to throw your way. And I really do hope this makes an impact. So I love you out there. Thank you so much.